Please, come in. Set your cloak by the fire. Yes, right there. The night outside is heavy with damp air, but here the flames are gentle and the chairs have been waiting. Take this seat. Every traveler deserves a place where the road finally loosens its grip. This blend is called Journey's Coffee. It carries the scent of wet earth, a taste of quiet bitterness, and a whisper of distant forests. It was meant for wanderers like you. Let me note this evening in the ledger. Tonight, a traveler finds warmth against the rain. The ink dries slowly, but words written by firelight have a way of staying longer. Oh, this is Moss. She greets every guest before I can. A small guardian of comfort, and perhaps the true keeper of this cafe. You may hear the lute in the corner. Its strings have learned not to rush. In this place, sound does not demand your attention. It waits. And in the waiting, you may discover your own heartbeat again. Out there, the road can be loud. Boots strike stone, wheels grind dust, voices bargain, argue, vanish. But here, the noise thins, like fog lifting from a quiet field. You may find that silence is not empty. It is crowded with things we forget to hear. Rain on wood. Fire turning logs into light, the faint shuffle of a cat deciding which lap to claim. And in that silence, perhaps you will hear yourself. The road does not steal who you are. It only buries it under dust. Sit long enough, breathe slowly, and the dust falls away. Tonight, you are not a stranger. You are someone who has always belonged, simply waiting for the doorbell to ring and remind you. Stories arrive the way guests do, not when summoned, but when the road leads them here. Every cloak hung by the fire carries more than water. It carries distance, fatigue, and something unspoken, waiting to be poured out like steam. Tonight, a traveler has entered with such a cloak. And while the rain writes its own tale outside, we will listen to his. It begins not with thunder or triumph, but with a quiet river, a river that remembers light. Lean closer to the fire and let the map of his journey unfold. Tonight, the traveler's story unfolds.
strayed from the road, though the map had not asked me to. The stones of the path had grown weary of my boots, or perhaps I had grown weary of their complaints. Grass reached higher, reeds brushed my coat, and silence thickened until even my heartbeat sounded uninvited. Above me, the moon played a game of presence, hiding in veils of cloud, returning only long enough to remind me what absence meant. Damp air clung to my sleeves as though the night had its own claim upon me. Then came the sound. Water, but not as I knew it. No chatter of stones, no rush of torrents. It was softer, breath-like, a murmur that seemed older than speech itself.
And you followed it?
Yes. The reeds opened like parting curtains. Before me stretched a ribbon of darkness, so calm the stars reclined upon it, as though the heavens themselves had chosen to rest. But it was not the stars that stopped me. Beneath that surface, a light stirred. At first I mistook it for trickery, a stray reflection of the moon bending where it should not. Yet the glow held steady when the moon withdrew. Blue, faint but certain, pulsed as though a heart beat beneath the water's skin. Each rise and fall of brightness felt timed with my own breath, as though the river and I shared lungs. I froze. I feared not danger, but desecration. The fear that any motion, any thought too sharp, might shatter what was meant to remain whole.
And what did you feel standing there?
I felt recognized, as though the night had been waiting, keeping a lamp under its coat for the first weary soul to stumble close. My steps, forgotten by the world, were being counted again, quietly, faithfully, by this river. I knelt. Grass pierced through my trousers, sharp reminders of Earth's honesty. The bank carried the metallic breath of stone, the iron tang of water. And when I leaned forward, the glow spread wider, as though pleased I had dared to notice. I leaned closer until the river breathed against my skin. My reflection wavered there, blurred, uncertain, as though the water itself doubted my existence. It did not show me features, only the reminder that I was alive enough to cast a shadow, fragile enough to vanish at any moment. The glow thickened. Threads of blue curled beneath the surface, weaving and unwinding like veins beneath translucent skin. For a moment, I wondered if the earth itself was alive, and this river was where its heartbeat surfaced, patient and unending.
And did that heartbeat frighten you?
No. It humbled me. Some waters demand to be crossed, others beg to be conquered. But this river asked nothing, only to be remembered. I extended my hand, slowly, reverently. The surface broke with a sigh, coolness seizing my fingers. The shock was truth itself, clean, raw, impossible to deny. Yet within the chill, warmth gathered unexpectedly. Not the heat of fire, but the comfort of recognition, like touching a page and finding it already marked with your name. The blue gathered in my palm, trembling like a candle's throat between breaths. It was not fire, not stone, not sky, but something in between, a memory, shaped into light. I tried to cup it, holding the fragile glow as gently as one would cradle a bird too small for flight. The river answered with a shimmer, as if amused by my greed. In that glow, I felt the dust of my journey wash away. The names of inns already forgotten, the weight of roads too long, the echo of conversations that ended before they began. All of it softened, as though the current had taken my burdens into its keeping.
And in that moment, did you feel less alone?
Yes. For the first time in many nights, solitude felt like company. The river remembered me, even when the world did not. I drew back my hand, letting the water fall. Droplets rang against the surface like tiny bells. The glow thinned, but the memory of its touch remained, etched deeper than any road I had walked. There was a glint beneath the water, subtle yet insistent. It did not wave at me or call my name. It simply was, a patient beacon waiting to be noticed. I lowered my hand again, the cold biting sharper than before. The current slipped past my fingers like ribbons of glass. And then I touched it. Warmth in a river cold enough to stiffen bone. The contrast startled me, but I did not pull away. My fingers closed around the shape and lifted. Droplets fell like silver beads, breaking the surface with tiny songs. In my palm rested a stone, small as a sparrow's egg, smooth as though centuries had rehearsed its edges. And inside, blue lived. Not painted, not trapped, but dwelling there, moving, breathing. It pulsed with the slow patience of sleep, the tender rhythm of a child's chest rising and falling under blankets.
Was it like holding a lantern?
No, more like holding a memory that refused to go dark. turned the stone slowly, as though each angle might reveal a secret. The glow did not scatter like reflection. It moved with the stone, alive within it. And then the surface shifted, not cracked, not broken, shifted, the way water changes shape when you breathe upon it. What it offered was not color, but image. My father's face appeared, yet not as I had last seen him, worn thin by winters and work. No, this was him younger, strong, his hair black as midnight soil. He did not look at me directly. His gaze leaned past my shoulder, towards something unseen, as though he stood at a door I had not yet learned to open.
And what did that stir in you?
A longing sharp enough to cut. My breath caught, my hand trembled, yet the stone held steady. Then it changed again. My mother's hands, only her hands, appeared, spreading a cloth across a table, gentle, certain. A picture of care, without face, without voice, but no less complete. Then my sister, mouth full of cherries, crimson dripping at her chin, her laughter bursting through rules she never obeyed. The images shifted like ripples meeting and passing. Each drop of river water across the stone rewrote its surface, yet the light beneath never dimmed. I realized then, the stone was not showing me ghosts. It was allowing me to remember without permission from grief. Normally, memory comes like a toll collector. Every face purchased with regret, every echo paid for with pain. But here, no price was demanded. The light asked nothing. It simply gave.
And how did that feel?
Like thirst meeting water. A relief so deep it frightened me, because I wanted more. I thought of every mile behind me, roads eaten by my boots, nights swallowed by silence, inns where my name was spoken only once, then forgotten. Holding the stone, all of that softened, forgiven by a glow too kind for anger. I wanted to keep it, to slip it into my pocket, close to my heart. A dawn I could carry through every shadow ahead. My greed felt innocent, yet undeniable. The thought of releasing it seemed unbearable. The stone pulsed in my palm, once, twice, like a borrowed heartbeat. In its rhythm, I heard my father's voice again, calling my name the way he once did when I was small, not to stop me, but to bless the going. I closed my hand around the light, clinging for one more breath, one more flicker. My chest ached with the weight of wanting. Then, slowly, I opened my fingers. The stone lay there, blue as the word stay, but I knew staying was never its task. It belonged to the river, to motion, to the endless carrying of things too luminous for pockets.
And so you gave it back.
Yes. I leaned forward, let the current reclaim it. The water welcomed its child with no splash of protest. The blue drifted downstream, steady as a lantern walking away into the dark. I watched until the shimmer dissolved into distance. The current accepted the stone as if it had never left. No splash, no protest, just reunion. The glow slipped downstream, threading darkness with a steady stitch of blue. I followed along the bank, my knees damp from grass, my hands empty at last. Yet emptiness felt different now. Not loss, not absence. It felt like room for air, for memory, for the long road still waiting. I watched the light shrink, patient, unwilling to vanish too soon. Each pulse seemed to tell me, you cannot hold me, but I will not abandon you.
And in that moment, were you comforted?
Yes. Comforted. Carried. The stone had never been mine. It was always the river's. Always moving. To claim it would have been theft. To release it was to walk beside it, even as it drifted away. I stood there longer than I can measure, listening to the hymn of water, the prayer of rain against leaves, the quiet benediction of night. I rinsed my hands in the current. The cold bit sharply, yet it felt purer than before, as though the water itself had been waiting to wash me clean. Rings rippled outward from each drop. They met, folded into one another, then vanished, leaving the surface smooth again. To any passerby, it would have been an ordinary river, unremarkable. But I knew its secret pulse, its hidden light. And knowing was enough. For the first time in many nights, I was not desperate for possession. I could walk forward with nothing in my pockets and still feel richer than I'd ever been.
And the road ahead, did it look different?
Yes. The same stones waited. The same miles lay stretched before me, yet they no longer threatened. They had become invitations, not punishments. The river had taught me. Not everything given is meant to be held. Some gifts remain with us precisely because we release them. The blue light drifted on, but it lingered also within me, steady as breath. The owl called once more from the woods, a low question hanging in the air. I felt as though the night itself was asking if I had learned. I breathed deeply. The air tasted of rain-soaked earth, metallic stone, and the faint sweetness of wet grass. Each breath felt unhurried, fuller than the last. I thought of my father's face, my mother's hands, my sister's laughter. Each vision given, each vision returned. None of them mine to own, yet all of them mine to remember. A strange peace settled in me. Peace not from answers, but from release. I knew the stone was not a relic to keep, but a teacher to meet. And like every teacher, it appeared only long enough to guide, then stepped back into the river of time.
And did that lesson feel heavy?
No, lighter than any burden I had carried. It was weightless, yet it steadied me more than armor. Even in emptiness, I was accompanied by memory, by river, by light unseen but not lost. I lingered by the river until the shimmer was gone. Darkness closed over its secret, but I did not feel abandoned. I had carried the light as far as I was meant to, and now it would journey without me. I turned back toward the path, my boots heavy with water, yet light with purpose. For the first time in many nights, I was not walking away from something. I was walking with something, even if unseen.
Shall I write it in the ledger?
Yes, please.
Tonight, a traveler stood beside a river that remembered light. He held a stone that showed the faces of those he loved. He released it, and the river carried the glow onward. He walked away not empty, but guided. Moss agrees.
She would have chased the glow, then curled up on it.
Stay by the fire a while longer. There is coffee still, and time before the next story.
left the river behind me, though its glow lingered in my chest like an ember refusing to die. The road bent upward into hills, and each step pressed the memory deeper. The wind came restless, curling around my ears. It carried fragments, half melodies that might have been only echoes of my own longing. Yet they returned again, too clear, too patterned to be chance. At first it was only a hum, stretched thin across the distance. But the longer I walked, the more it thickened into tone, as if unseen voices were weaving the air. I stopped, listening. The hills held their breath, waiting. Every traveler knows the danger of voices where no mouths can be seen. Still, I felt no dread. What reached me was not command, not warning. It was invitation. A call without words, and yet I understood it. Come closer.
And you followed?
Yes. My boots found rhythm with the sound, as though the earth itself had joined the song. Each rise of the hill opened more sky. Each step stretched the note a little louder, a little nearer. I climbed higher, each step drawing me deeper into the hush between hills. The hum thickened, bending around the slopes like smoke that refused to scatter. I cupped my hands to my ears to test whether the sound lived outside me or within, and the answer was both. The air vibrated with tone, and something in my chest thrummed back, as if I had become a hollow instrument. I paused on the ridge. The sky pressed close, black stitched with silver, and for a breath, I thought the stars themselves were singing. Their glitter seemed timed with the music, faint sparks moving in the same slow rhythm. I whispered to myself, "This is not my echo. This is the valley's memory." The thought settled, heavy but kind. I have walked through many places that forgot me the moment I passed. Here, the land felt eager to remember, eager to fold my steps into its soft, steady song. The road bent downward, the hum louder now, almost finding a melody. I felt pulled, not by duty or hunger, but by the gentlest thread of sound. I slowed to match it. With each breath, the tone grew clearer, rounding its edges like a river smoothing stone. I tried to hum along and failed, because the pitch kept shifting just ahead of me, playful and patient. I smiled, despite the cold. The wind fretted at my coat, tugging like a child who wants to show you something wonderful.
What did you expect to find at the end of that thread?
Not a village, not yet. Only an answer to why silence had chosen to sing. I descended from the ridge. The hum no longer felt distant. It threaded itself into the rhythm of my steps, weaving between my heartbeat and the crunch of gravel underfoot. The hills seemed to shape their slopes so that the sound could travel unhindered. Every hollow cradled it, every curve returned it. The land was not echoing. It was joining in. I slowed again, uncertain if I was being led forward or lured inward. The melody had no words, yet meaning pressed against my skin. It said, "You are heard. You are not walking unseen." I tested the claim. I stopped breathing for a moment, held still, waiting. The sound did not abandon me. It bent gently around my silence, patient, as though saying, "Even here, even in pause, you belong." I began humming softly, my voice a poor shadow, but it blended. The valley did not scold me. It welcomed my rough note, smoothed it, carried it forward until I could no longer tell where I ended and it began. I laughed under my breath. The road ahead glimmered with promise, though no lanterns burned there.
And did you trust that promise?
I wanted to. Every weary part of me leaned toward it. The slope carried me down into a shallow hollow where the sound gathered thicker than mist. It no longer drifted, it circled, layering tone upon tone until the air itself seemed woven. I felt I'd stepped inside an instrument. The strings stretched above me in invisible arches. My breath caught. The song was not random. Its phrases repeated, rose, fell, returned. Someone, or something, was shaping it. I pressed my palm to my chest, steadying the tremor inside me. The road had become less road and more threshold. Each step forward felt like trespass into a mystery that nevertheless wanted me present. A shimmer of lights flickered in the low valley ahead. Not firelight, not stars. Glows that swayed in patterns, pulsing with the same rhythm as the song. My heart stumbled. Villagers hide from the night. They do not sing into it. Yet here was a settlement declaring itself to the dark without fear.
And you understood then where the voices came from.
Yes. The voices belonged not to hills or ghosts. They belonged to people. A village that had chosen song over speech, melody over silence. The road poured me gently into a valley cradled by low hills. Houses rose there, not tall, not proud. Timber frames, white walls, roofs that curved like folded wings. Yet what struck me first was not their shape, but their sound. Each home seemed to breathe melody. A group of children ran past, their laughter not spoken but sung, tiny refrains tumbling into each other like playful birds. They did not call names, they chorused them, turning syllables into music that rang brighter than bells. I stopped in the square, uncertain if I had intruded on some festival, but no banners flew, no feast smoked. This was ordinary life, yet it was carried entirely on pitch and rhythm. The baker greeted the potter with a rising scale. The potter replied in a descending phrase, like two rivers bowing to meet. Even the dogs barked in chords, their voices tuned to the flow. My ears strained to follow, my chest ached to match them. I opened my mouth, but silence pressed against my teeth. I could not join, not yet. The language here was not mine to borrow.
And still, you felt welcomed.
Yes. More than welcomed. I felt absorbed, as though the village had already found a harmony for me, waiting for my note to arrive. I walked deeper into the square. No one stared at me, yet everyone seemed to notice. Their songs shifted subtly, weaving a new strand through the harmony. I realized they were adjusting to my presence, as if the village itself was a choir, and I was a late note arriving. A woman carrying bread passed me. She sang two notes, soft, questioning. I felt the sound touch my chest like fingers tapping lightly, asking, "Who are you?" I could not answer in melody. My throat shaped words, useless here. So I bowed. She smiled, her eyes kind, and answered with a lilting phrase that translated without effort. "Welcome, stranger." A group of men lifted a cart together, their voices locked in harmony. Each push rose like a chord, each rest fell like an exhale. Work became music, and music became strength. I thought of the roads I had walked, the towns where silence grew heavy between neighbors, where words stumbled and fell. Here, silence had been banished. Everything breathed through song, and in that breathing, the distance between souls collapsed.
Did you envy them?
I did. But more than envy, I felt longing, the ache of someone who has heard home in a language he cannot yet speak. I followed the melody toward the heart of the village. The square widened, framed by lanterns that swayed in the wind, their glass chiming faintly. Each lantern seemed to glow in step with the voices, pulsing gently, as if light itself had joined the choir. A child tugged at my sleeve. He did not speak, but sang a playful fragment, 3 notes rising, then one falling, like a question turned into a smile. I answered with silence, only a nod. Yet he laughed as though I had replied perfectly. The elders gathered near the fountain, their tones deeper, steady as river stones. Their songs shaped the air, carrying authority without harshness. It was not command, it was invitation, urging every passer-by into the flow. Each voice carried weight, yet all gave way to each other, blending rather than battling. I listened with my whole body. The sound did not stop at my ears. It pressed against skin, soaked into breath, settled behind the eyes where memory waits. I realized their song was not decoration. It was the language itself, the map by which life here was navigated.
And what did that teach you?
That words divide, but melody gathers. Here, every greeting was already a joining. I sat at the edge of the fountain, letting the voices wash over me. Each passerby contributed a phrase, no matter how brief. A rising trill from a girl balancing baskets. A steady hum from a man guiding oxen. A soft whistle from an old woman carrying herbs. Together, these fragments braided into a single river of sound. I closed my eyes. The music revealed the structure of the village more clearly than any map. I could tell where the baker worked by the rhythm of his chorus, could sense where children gathered by the playful leaps of their notes. The song was compass, chronicle, heartbeat, all at once. When I opened my eyes again, I no longer felt like an intruder. Though I had offered no melody, space had been made for me. My silence was carried like a rest in the measure, not a flaw, but a pause that gave shape to sound. I wondered how long it would take before I could answer them in their own tongue of tones. The thought was not frightening, it was hope, fragile and glowing.
And in that hope, you felt belonging?
Yes, belonging sung before I could speak it. When I opened my eyes again, I no longer felt like an intruder. Though I had offered no melody, space had been made for me. My silence was carried like a rest in the measure, not a flaw, but a pause that gave shape to sound. I wondered how long it would take before I could answer them in their own tongue of tones. The thought was not frightening, it was hope, fragile and glowing.
And in that hope, you felt belonging?
Yes, belonging sung before I could speak it. I sensed a shift. The casual fragments of melody that floated between neighbors began to converge. One voice rose, then another answered, and soon the square filled with a weaving fabric of sound. It was not noise, not chaos. It was design, as if every voice had always waited for this moment to join. Children stilled their play, their notes folding into the larger pattern. Elders leaned on canes, yet sang with resonance that shook the air. The entire village was becoming one instrument, tuned by memory and breath. I stood frozen at the center. The song gathered around me, not enclosing but embracing. Each phrase seemed aimed toward me, though no single singer watched directly. I felt as though the village itself had turned its face and was speaking without words. Traveler, we have seen you. The melody painted my steps, retracing the path by which I had entered. The hills, the wind, even the whisper of the river I had left behind. They were singing my journey back to me, a chorus that had somehow overheard the silence of my days and given it voice.
And how did that make you feel?
As if I had never walked alone, as if even my forgotten footprints had been collected and remembered in harmony. The song rose higher, weaving details I had not expected. A verse curved gently, carrying the memory of my father's voice. Another descended low, echoing the steady hands of my mother. The village could not have known these images, yet somehow the melody revealed them, drawn from a place beyond distance. I felt tears sting, not from sadness, but from recognition. Every note seemed to say, "We know what you carry. We honor it with you." The chorus widened, spilling into the streets beyond the square. Windows opened, doors swung wide, and more voices joined, until the entire valley seemed to breathe in unison. Each voice distinct, yet none seeking to rise above another. I lifted my head to the sky. Stars trembled as though listening, as though they too remembered what it meant to be bound together by sound. I could not add my own voice. My throat was locked, my language too clumsy. But still, the music carried me, wrapped me, lifted me. For once, silence was not absence. It was harmony, waiting between the notes.
And in that silence, did you feel diminished?
No. I felt completed. My silence became the rest that made their song whole. The melody shifted again, now swelling into chords so vast they seemed to lift the ground beneath me. I felt the square expand, no longer bounded by houses but stretching to the hills, the sky, the unseen edges of the world. Every note carried weight. One voice traced the curve of rivers I'd crossed. Another mirrored the stumble of roads where I'd nearly faltered. They were not singing tales of triumph, but of survival. Simple steps taken, breaths endured. I closed my eyes. The song pressed against my chest like warm hands, steadying the ache I'd long carried. It told me, "You are seen, not for victories, but for continuance." Tears broke free, and I let them. No shame lived in this music. The village sang weeping and laughter alike, binding both into harmony. I wanted to thank them, but my voice would have been too small. Instead, I bowed my head, letting their tones move through me like wind through hollow wood. And in that bow, I realized the truth. They were not singing to me. They were singing with me, drawing at the melody I'd carried silently all along.
And what did that melody sound like once revealed?
It sounded like belonging, finally given a sound. The chorus swelled to its height, a living tide of sound that carried every soul in the square. I felt the song turn brighter, luminous as dawn. Voices rose in overlapping waves, yet no voice drowned another. Each strand of tone found space, as if harmony itself had infinite room. They circled me, though no one stepped forward. The music itself became their embrace. My knees weakened. I lowered myself onto the stone edge of the fountain, afraid my body might fail to hold the weight of such welcome. For in that song, I was no stranger. I was kin, remembered, restored. They sang not only what I had done, but who I was, and who I might become. The melody promised, "You are not lost, you are carried." I closed my eyes. Light flared behind them, blue and gold, colors of river and hearth entwined. My hands trembled, but I did not hide the shaking. It too became part of the rhythm. The song eased, softened, tapering into a final chord that lingered in the air like breath unwilling to end. And when silence finally returned, it did not feel empty. It felt like fullness, resting.
And in that silence, did you still hear them?
Yes, their song had already entered the silence within me. The song tapered into quiet, a silence richer than sound. I sat by the fountain, chest heaving, eyes blurred. And when I blinked, I found the villagers watching me, not with stares, but with patience. From among them, an elder stepped forward, his hair silver, his shoulders curved like bowed strings, yet his presence was upright as a pillar of tone. He raised a hand, and the murmuring chords around us softened into one expectant note. He sang, not long, not elaborate, only a line as steady as breath. Its melody lifted toward me, gentle, unthreatening. It was invitation, pure and clear. Will you join us? My throat closed. The urge to answer rose sharp, but fear trailed behind. My voice would break the beauty. My accent would bruise their purity. I hesitated, trembling. The elder's eyes did not demand. They encouraged. His tone did not trap me. It opened a door. Yet still I could not step through. I bowed my head, lips pressed shut. My silence became my song.
And did they understand your silence?
Yes, for they did not turn away. They simply shifted the harmony to cradle it. The music bent around my refusal, yet it did not break. The villagers adjusted, their notes folding gently to leave space where my voice should have been. They made room for absence, and in that room, I felt seen. The elder continued his line, and others joined. Women weaving higher tones, children scattering quick, playful notes. My silence became one more color in the pattern, a pause stretched into meaning. I closed my eyes. For years I had carried the weight of unspoken things. Words I never said to my father, confessions I never gave my sister, prayers I left unfinished. And here, all of it was lifted, not by speaking, but by being silent in the presence of song. The elder ended his phrase with a slow descent, like dusk falling behind hills. The rest followed, leaving only the wind. I bowed, not in shame, but in gratitude. My silence had not been weakness, it had been offering. They had accepted it. And in that acceptance, I understood. Not every harmony requires sound. Sometimes the rest is the note that saves the song from collapse.
And in that discovery, did you feel lighter?
Yes, as though I had finally sung without opening my mouth. The square breathed with me. No judgment clung to the air. The villagers dispersed slowly, voices trickling into smaller exchanges, neighbors greeting neighbors, children humming farewell phrases. The harmony did not vanish. It thinned, gentle as embers fading but still warm. I remained by the fountain. The elder placed a hand on my shoulder, firm yet kind. He sang nothing this time. His silence met mine. Two pauses layered into meaning. It was blessing without syllables. The night stretched open. Above, the stars echoed the rests we had shared, glittering not as noise, but as punctuation against the dark. I thought, perhaps every silence is a note waiting for ears willing to listen. My chest loosened. I had not sung, but I had joined. I had learned the measure of restraint and found in it a harmony of its own. When the elder stepped away, I whispered to myself, not for anyone else to hear. I understand. The words did not enter the chorus, but the chorus lived in them nonetheless.
And so silence became your answer?
Yes. And for the first time, silence answered back. The dawn came gently, pale gold spilling over the hills. The village stirred, but without the clamour of speech. Even morning chores began in melody, short calls rising with smoke from chimneys, low hums mixing with the shuffle of feet. I stood at the edge of the square, cloak gathered close. Children waved, their voices tumbling into bright phrases. Women carrying baskets answered with harmonies, brief but warm. Even the dogs padded after me a few steps, barking in rough chords before retreating. The elder appeared once more, staff in hand. He did not sing, not this time. He bowed, a gesture deeper than any note. His silence was enough. I understood it as farewell, as blessing. I returned the bow. My lips parted, but no sound came. I realized I had no melody yet worthy of this place, so I let the hush be my gift back to them. And in that hush, the faint echo of their songs seemed to follow, woven into the fabric of the dawn itself.
And when you stepped beyond the valley?
The wind carried their memory, as if it refused to let me leave alone. The path out of the valley curved upward. Each step carried me farther, yet the song lingered, stitched into the hush behind me. I turned once, and the village roofs caught the morning light. No one stood there, but I felt eyes upon me, not of suspicion, but of blessing. I breathed deep, filling my chest with air sharpened by dawn. The silence that had once weighed on me now felt companionable, tuned by what I had learned. I realized I could walk alone without being lonely, for the music of others had taken root inside me. The hills opened wider, the road stretched ahead. In that expanse, I hummed, soft, broken, but mine. It was not their melody, yet it was born from theirs. And the morning accepted it, weaving my rough note into the chorus of streams, birds, and wind.
And so you left with a song?
Yes. A song of silence, of welcome, of dawn. It was enough to carry me forward. I left the singing village with dawn still fresh on my shoulders. The road curved into forest, darker, quieter, as though every tree wished to hold its breath. My boots sank into moss. Branches above tangled thick, hiding the sky. No chorus welcomed me here. No flute, no hum. Only silence, stretched taut between trunks. Then I heard it. The faintest flutter of wings, soft as thought. I paused, listening. The forest gave nothing more, but my skin prickled, sensing I was no longer alone. I walked on. The silence deepened, not empty, but watching. Each shadow clung too long, each branch bent as if weighed by unseen eyes. And then, a sound. Not song, not speech. A single call, low and steady. The owl's voice rolled through the dark like a bell struck slowly. I raised my eyes. Between two branches, pale feathers caught the moonlight. A white owl sat unmoving, gaze fixed on me. It did not blink. It did not turn away.
And what did you feel beneath its gaze?
Not fear. Recognition, as if it had been waiting for me all along. The owl did not move. Its stillness pressed heavier than any noise. I felt the air tighten, as though the forest itself had paused to listen. I whispered, though no one stood beside me. Why do you watch me? My words dissolved into the leaves, unanswered. The owl tilted its head, slow, deliberate. Moonlight slid across its feathers, and for a heartbeat it glowed as if carved from ice. Its eyes caught mine, not amber like common owls, but pale, silvered, reflecting back more than light. I saw myself standing small, a traveller caught mid-step. I could not look away. Those eyes drew every memory from me. Villages passed, rivers crossed, even the chorus I had just left behind. All of it floated up, as if weighed and measured in silence. Then, the owl spread its wings. White spanned against black sky, silent as falling snow. It did not fly away. It lowered, landing on a branch closer, gaze unbroken. I felt its question without sound. Do you carry only echoes, or will you speak truth?
And did you answer?
Not with words. I lowered my head and the forest answered for me, with silence that forgave. The owl shifted closer, feathers brushing the air without a sound. Its presence filled the hollow between trees, immense though its body was small. I thought of the songs I had left behind. In the village, voices had woven me into belonging. Here, Silence was the loom, and the owl its weaver. It blinked once, slow as dusk closing. That single motion felt like judgment eased, as if the forest had decided I was allowed to pass. I exhaled, realizing I had held my breath too long. The release trembled in the air. The owl answered, not with flight, but with stillness deeper than stone. I bowed my head. The gesture felt ancient, older than words. When I raised it again, the branch was empty. The owl was gone, leaving only a feather caught on bark, pale and soft, glowing faintly in moonlight. I reached for it but stopped short. Some gifts are not for taking. Some must remain where silence placed them.
And so you left the feather untouched?
Yes, for to carry it would have been theft. To leave it was to accept the forest's trust. I made camp beneath a leaning pine. The fire I lit was small, careful, for the forest felt too sacred for flame. I closed my cloak around me and tried to sleep, though the owl's gaze lingered behind my eyes. At last, drowsiness carried me. My breath slowed. The crackle of fire became distant, and the forest shifted. In the dream, I stood again before the feather I had refused to take. It glowed brighter now, as though spun from moonlight itself. I reached out, hesitant. This time the forest did not resist. My fingers brushed the plume, and instead of touch, I felt sound, like a chord struck within my chest. The note spread through me, low and steady, resonating with every memory I held. The feather lifted on its own, hovering above my palm. It quivered once, then dissolved into light. The light entered me, settling where breath becomes voice. I awoke with a start. The fire had burned to ember. The forest lay silent. Yet within my chest a faint hum remained, fragile, but alive.
And was it gift or burden?
I could not tell, only that it had entered me, and nothing could return it. Sleep claimed me again, and the dream deepened. I walked through a meadow drenched in silver light. The grass did not bend beneath my feet, and shadows had no edges. At the center stood the owl, vast and still, wings folded like a cathedral roof. From its chest, the feather emerged once more, drifting down, luminous as a falling star. This time it did not rest on bark, but hovered before my face. I heard no voice, yet meaning filled the air. Carry this, but not in your hand. Carry it in your breath. The feather dissolved into mist, entering me through my mouth, my lungs, until my exhale shimmered faintly white. I tried to speak, but only song escaped, low notes trembling like the forest floor itself. The owl's eyes glowed, approving, and the meadow pulsed as if the earth had joined my voice. Then the dream shifted. The meadow blurred, the owl dimmed, and I stood again by the fountain of the singing village. The people turned, listening, waiting for my note. My chest swelled. I opened my mouth, and this time, melody poured, clear, unbroken, not silence, but sound.
And was that song truly yours?
It was and was not. It was mine, shaped by theirs, and theirs reshaped by mine.
The dream thickened until it felt heavier than waking. The villages faded, the meadow dissolved, and I found myself standing in darkness pierced only by a single white feather. It hovered just beyond reach. I stretched out my hand, but it drifted farther, as if to remind me some things cannot be held. Then the feather split into countless smaller lights, scattering upward like sparks. They rose into the shape of wings, vast, unearthly. The owl appeared again, larger than sky, its gaze endless. It beat its wings once. The rush of wind struck through me, yet no sound followed. Instead, silence thundered, vast and clear. In that silence, I felt the hum within my chest align perfectly with the emptiness around me. For a breath, I was both feather and forest, voice and pause. The vision cracked. Light burst, dissolving the owl, the feather, the meadow. I awoke, gasping, the fire ash grey, dawn thinning the shadows. My chest still trembled with that unearthly resonance. I touched my throat, half expecting to find a feather lodged there.
And did the sound remain?
Yes. Not loud, but steady, like a secret note waiting for its time. The first light spread between the trees, pale and tentative. My fire had gone out, leaving only smoke that drifted thin as memory. I rose, cloak heavy with dew. My chest still carried the hum, faint but steady, like a secret ember refusing to cool. Then I heard the wings, slow, deliberate. The white owl swept above the clearing, vast against the paling sky. No sound marked its flight, only the hush of air parting. It circled once, eyes silver, and descended to a branch across from me. In daylight, its feathers glowed less like ice, more like dawn itself, soft, forgiving. I bowed, whispering, "I dreamed of your feather." The owl blinked, a motion that felt like agreement. I waited for words, but silence remained. Instead, the hum inside me deepened, echoing its presence. I understood then. The gift had already been given. It did not need to place a feather in my hand. It had left its mark in my breath.
And what did you feel in that moment?
Gratitude. Not for what I received, but for what I was trusted to carry. The owl lifted from its branch, wings opening into the light. It soared above me, a curve of white cutting across the paling sky. I followed with my eyes, my breath catching as the hum within me answered each beat of its flight. The sound was not heard, it was felt, resonating in bone and marrow. It circled the clearing once more, then angled upward, higher, until trees seemed too small to contain it. Sunlight caught its feathers, and for an instant they flared like fire, dazzling and fierce. I raised my hand, not to claim, but to acknowledge. My palm trembled, fingers spread wide as though measuring the span of its wings. The owl did not call again. Its silence was declaration enough. You have the note now. Carry it forward. Tears blurred the edges of sky and branch. I let them fall freely. For the first time in many miles, I wept not from loss, but from release. The forest had kept me, taught me, and now set me free.
And when it vanished into the dawn,
I felt lighter, as though my silence had grown wings of its own. I lingered in the clearing until the owl vanished into light. The hum within me steadied, no longer fragile but firm, as if silence itself had become a companion. The forest brightened. Birds filled the branches with song, their small voices weaving morning together. Yet beneath their chatter I still felt the deeper tone, the hidden note the owl had left in me. I gathered my cloak and stepped back onto the path. Each footfall carried ease I had not known before. The weight of my journeys did not vanish, but it no longer bent me low. At the edge of the trees I turned once more. No white wings broke the sky. No silver eyes watched from branches. Only sunlight and air. Yet I smiled, for I knew the gift remained. I whispered into the morning, I will carry it. My words felt different now, shaped not by fear but by promise. The wind caught them, lifting them upward, scattering them like feathers unseen.
And so you left the forest, not empty, but changed.
Yes, the silence of the owl had become my own song, and it would walk with me beyond the trees.
Another night has passed, and one traveler has left 3 stories with us. First, he stood beside a river that remembered light. In his hands, a stone glowed with memory. By releasing it into the current, he discovered that letting go is not loss, but belonging to a greater flow. Then he walked into a valley where words were sung instead of spoken. The village of song embraced him, teaching that silence, too, can be part of harmony, that belonging waits even in pauses. Finally, in a forest of hush, he met the white owl. Its feather was never taken in hand, but placed within his breath. In that gift of silence, he found his own voice rising with dawn. One traveler, 3 paths, yet the same lesson carried through. That sound and silence together weave the fabric of our days. We need not always speak to be heard. Sometimes listening is the truest note. Sometimes the pause is the song. Tonight, I close the ledger on these pages. The ink dries, but the stories remain alive, carried by memory, carried by you. If you are weary, may the river of light guide your rest. If you feel alone, may the village of song remind you that harmony is never far. And if silence weighs heavy, may the white owl lend you its wings. Here, in this small cafe, we keep a place for you. The fire will burn low, the rain will soften, and when dawn comes, you will rise with a note of your own, steady as breath. Moss agrees. Every night ends, but the story lingers. Sleep well, traveler. Until next time.